Understanding the order of operations for keyword opposition to benefit analysis is important overall so that you understand the ultimate outcome in choosing low opposition, high benefit keywords to build towards over time, to prepare for your SEO strategy, to follow the structure of your website. And we're going to start that order of operations by entering a keyword into a tool like SEMrush or the Google Keyword AdWord Planner. We're going to establish 5 to 10 different competitors and collect a giant seed list of all the keywords. And that's kind of keyword research. But the more important part is keeping that information, all that keyword data, with the volume and the cost per click information, and starting to organize this by benefit. And that's the first half that we'll talk about in our keyword demonstration. We'll look at that first 4 steps in the benefit side of our KOB analysis. This is an example of that. Just a brief, quick example is multiplying our cost per click times our volume. You can see E2 times F2 in this slide. And this gives us that overall benefit. Now, when we start getting into benefit by position, there's some questions in data quality of the relative click value, but these are pretty good numbers that we just kind of use as assumptions for our spreadsheet based on some studies that have been done. So while keyword benefit analysis can be quite simple, just basic keyword research and assuming some of this other information around volume and cost per click, keyword opposition analysis tends to get a little bit more complex. We get into very subjective areas, and we can only really evaluate objective data using tools and tool sets and automation. So what we're going to do here on the opposition side of things is analyze some of these page level metrics using toolbars in the search results, and I'll explain that a little bit further when we get into it. We're going to be using toolbars like the SEO Quake toolbar, the Moz toolbar, and some other tools including SEMrush to record this information. And then we're going to record all of those opposition scores that we can into a spreadsheet and start combining that with our keyword data to evaluate the low opposition phrases that have the high benefit that we should be targeting. So opposition scoring becomes more complex. This could ultimately be the entire Google algorithm that we're trying to understand. But if we pick a handful of important data points like unique linking domains, page authority, domain authority, etc., we can start to get a good understanding of how difficult these keywords are going to be to rank for. So when we create our spreadsheet, we know that the ultimate outcome is to find and establish the quote-unquote low-hanging fruit in our keyword and SEO strategy. And the low-hanging fruit are those keyword phrases with the low opposition and high benefit. And both of these terms are relative. Low opposition could mean 30, 40, 50, 70% keyword difficulty depending on how well established your site is, the metrics associated with your site. And the benefit could be relative to your industry. There might not be high search volume for the phrases that you're targeting. The cost per click in your industry may be high or low compared to other industries. But we're looking for relative low-hanging fruit with our spreadsheet and with this KOB analysis. So as we get into the demonstration of KOB analysis, I want to look at the benefit side of things first and some of the tools associated with creating benefit and doing our initial keyword research. We do our keyword research with Google AdWords Keyword Planner. Is really the best tool. The fastest and easiest way is to find a list of 5 to 10 competitors and start running those into some of the other more premium opposition analysis or SEO tools. 4 tools we'll be looking at today include SEMrush, which will help us collect competitor information on rankings, position information, cost per click, and keyword volume. A lot of the same information we could get from this keyword planner tool, except for in much more depth. And this is a premium subscription model tool, so if I type in a keyword like insurance, we start seeing some of the top phrases in terms of volume and cost per click, and we can always export everything to a PDF or to a CSV file to work with, and that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create that CSV file full of multiple tabs of all the keywords, the keyword benefit information, and then ultimately the opposition information and the comparison of those two so that we have some ideas on prioritizing our keywords. The first spreadsheet example I want to show here is the completed spreadsheet done by one of our Top Gun Master Certification students, Georgia, and she did an amazing job using a handful of tools and multiple tabs on a spreadsheet. I don't expect everyone to be an Excel genius, but this is the type of thing that you can do with Excel and the type of areas that you should be exploring with your KOB analysis and keyword research. First off, she shows what she used for her tools: SpyFu, Suval, SEMrush, WordTracker, Moz, and some Google search recommendations. She establishes her target audience and looks at her keywords, and then first she builds that list of all the possible keywords. In her case, she's in the travel space, so she's just exploring this keyword universe. And then she dives a little bit deeper into some keyword strategy. She imports the daily number of searches from Google, the monthly traffic estimates from either Google or SEMrush or some of the other tools. She includes an SEO difficulty either from SEO Quake or the keyword difficulty score, which she uses a little bit later from Moz. Right here is the keyword difficulty score. And then you can see she has a lot of other columns in here, including customer intent and some of the reasoning. So she explores these keywords on a more subjective level to say, is it informational? What are they looking for? How high is the volume? How high is the benefit? Etc., etc. So there's some subjective reasoning here as well. And then she compares her competitors. She looks at those 5 or 10 competitors that we talked about and looks at some of the areas, the page-specific metrics, the domain-specific metrics associated with those sites that are competing, those pages that are competing for those same keywords in the search result. She also has a dedicated KOB Analysis tab here to include the volume, the type of keyword, the decision, the cost per click, and the opposition or difficulty score from Moz.com. And then comparing those two is really ultimately that KOB score. Taking this one step further for our final project, she builds an information architecture based on these keywords and their grouping. And she has logical subdivisions for the different keyword areas, and then creates a master spreadsheet with her page titles and meta descriptions, targeting the correct keyword phrases in the correct places with the correct URL path, breadcrumb, etc. So really great job by Georgia. As mentioned, she was our Top Gun in one of the master certification classes. So thanks to Georgia for creating that wonderful spreadsheet that we can all use as a great example of how to do our KOB analysis. So Georgia obviously had a little background with Excel and importing everything and some understanding of how to do those things, but the tools that are used are very important from the SEO side of things. So as mentioned, we're going to go to SEMrush. Really can't suggest this tool highly enough. It's what I use for everything. I pay for a subscription. So give SEMrush a try. Try something like insurance, run your keyword, find a couple competitors. You can compare competitors over time, and then you can, again, export all of this keyword information to spreadsheets, which is really important here. So you can do it right directly into Excel, get a custom report if you need to, and we can do this for a variety of competitors to collect all that keyword benefit information. Now, one other place to get the same information is SEO Book. He uses a SEMrush API and has a competitive research tool that exports to Excel very nicely. This is the one that I like just a little bit better than SEMrush, but only for this specific purpose. So if we go to something like statefarm.com, we can run their information, find all of their keywords, and export all of this information. And then we end up with a spreadsheet that looks a little something like this. And this is a nice, easy spreadsheet to work with right out of the gate. We have thousands of keywords. We have their position. I don't care about a couple of these fields here. I'm probably going to delete or just hide these, save them for later. But number one, value and keyword benefit, these are really important areas. Upside potential is very important as well, because this also not only includes just the keyword benefit information, but this includes a factoring for position. So if I'm in position 9, to move that to position 1 has a very high upside potential, and you can see that here. So we can do something like sort our spreadsheet and the data by upside potential. So we're going to organize this descending by upside potential, and then if State Farm were our client in this case, we would have our keyword prioritization almost done here after we compare it to our opposition. And that's going to give us the phrases that offer the most benefit in moving. So if we move car insurance, auto insurance, obviously these are big phrases and that's why they show up at the top, but some of these might be a little less obvious and you might be down in that 10 or 20 range where you weren't even aware that you had those rankings because you weren't getting much search volume, but the benefit in moving the needle on those search phrases is really big. So these are the phrases that we would want to target, obviously, for State Farm if this was our client. This is a great tool, upside potential, and gathering and using upside potential for existing clients. So after we've collected all of our keyword benefit information into a spreadsheet, we have our search volume, cost per click, maybe if we use SEMrush, we have that position information as well, but we have some score for search benefit regardless of where we ran this information from. Now we need to score that opposition. Now the easiest way to do this is with the Moz difficulty tool. We're going to enter up to 20 keywords in here, tab separated, and I've already done that here with a variety of phrases. Then you can just select and export, and that will give you this information in a spreadsheet. And that'll look a little something like this. You may have to massage that data and put it into that other spreadsheet, or start a new tab, or copy and paste this into your spreadsheet, and then copy this information into that other spreadsheet here. So you'll record those opposition scores, and then once you have those opposition scores in here, you can see in the insurance it's in the 70th percentile. I would organize it something like this. And once we've collected that benefit and opposition both, we're going to compare the two of these to create our KOB ratio, or our KOB score. And the way we're going to do that is equals search benefit divided by opposition. And that'll give us this number. I like to format this just with no decimal places here. And then we can just fill down. We do an edit, fill down. And that gives us a number for all of these. Now in this case, this lines up pretty well with our search benefit. If we organize this, or if we sort by this, it lines up almost exactly. And that's just a function that says the opposition of these is pretty close. These are all pretty similar, so they didn't shuffle at all. But when you start to do this in aggregate with 200, 300, 500 keywords, you start to see some sweet spots, some phrases that you should obviously be targeting and putting higher in your information architecture, or higher in your SEO strategy, in your keyword prioritization. And that's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish here. So we start comparing this number, our opposition, we're looking for low opposition and high benefit. And then we're going to start comparing user intent and saying informational, transactional. This is a phrase that is good to our business model or not necessary to our business model. And then finally I would do a keyword prioritization field and then just number these by priority. So from here we start building our information architecture. We start tying our keyword groups into more and more organized little groups for good information architecture and solid organization of our keyword, so we know where our priorities should be on the website with development of content and images and graphics and all the other wonderful things that go into a website. We need to be able to prioritize by this keyword strategy and by what's making us money, what's important to our business. Now if you'd like to go a little bit more in depth with your opposition analysis than just keyword difficulty scoring, just recording that simple score, you can use a handful of other tools. We would look at something like the Moz toolbar. If you Google Moz toolbar, you'll find it for Chrome, and you can turn that on here. And then you can do a SERP overlay or a Mozbar overlay in your browser that will show you some information when you're on different websites. SEO Quake works in much the same way. We can turn that on and we'll see something that looks a little bit like this. And that collects a lot of those data points: Google PageRank, Google Pages Indexed, link domain from SEMrush, Alexa information. And then we can also export this to a spreadsheet, which is actually a semicolon CSV. When you import that, you would do a file import to import this correctly into Excel, and you'd get something like this. All of your competitors here with their information, their Alexa, their age, their link domain, and you start pulling this information into that spreadsheet and building your own opposition score rather than just using that keyword difficulty score. Or you can just look at the search results for some of these things and say, hey, they have 10,000 links or 50,000 pages indexed, and we're at half of that. We need to get to the same area they are. And that's the basic competitive intelligence you can do inline in the search results. So SEO Quake, handy little tool. You can enable it in your browser and it'll show you that. They also have a toolbar that goes directly in your browser or in the search results as I demonstrated. So we covered a lot of information in our KOB Analysis demonstration. We looked at what KOB Analysis is, how to compare keyword benefit with keyword opposition and come up with this KOB score, or this KOB ratio, if you will. We looked at what the value of a #1 ranking means and upside potential of moving from a position like 10 to a position like 1 and how you can evaluate that with a spreadsheet. We looked at how that impacts keyword priority, also the opposition of a search result, and the objective metrics that we can look at to determine the opposition level of a search result and how that impacts keyword priority as well. The most important lesson that we learned ultimately is that keyword phrases with the lowest opposition and the highest benefit are what we want to target. That's what we're going to be basing our SEO strategy and our overall content and link development strategy around. That's how we're going to organize our website, is by establishing that low-hanging fruit and prioritizing our keywords accordingly based on this analysis. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you better understand keyword opposition to benefit analysis.